Ladies, sometimes life puts us in situations where we chase someone who doesn't value us the way we deserve. We invest our energy, our time, our heart, hoping they will notice, appreciate, and reciprocate. And yet, often, they take it for granted. But what if I told you that the real power is not in chasing? The real power is in disappearing. When you stop chasing, when you step back and let go of the need for validation from someone who can't give it, something incredible happens. You reclaim your confidence, you regain your time, and you create a magnetic energy that makes people realize what they lost, but on your terms. Disappearing isn't about revenge. It's about self-respect. It's about saying, I value myself enough to not waste my life on someone who doesn't see my worth. And here's the beautiful thing. Once you disappear, the narrative shifts. Suddenly, you are the prize. Suddenly, they see the value of what they let go, and often the person who never appreciated you starts to chase you. But it's too late, because you are no longer available to be taken for granted. The very first step to reclaiming your power in any relationship is truly understanding your own worth. Many of us spend years looking outward for validation, hoping that someone else's attention or approval will define our value. But the truth is, your worth is intrinsic. It's not something that can be given to you by someone else or taken away. When you internalize this, you no longer feel the need to chase, to beg, or to compromise yourself for the sake of someone else's affection. You stand firm in the knowledge that you are enough exactly as you are. Understanding your worth also means recognizing the patterns in your life that have undermined it. Maybe you've settled for less than you deserve in the past, or maybe you've invested your energy into people who didn't reciprocate. These experiences are not signs of weakness. They are lessons. They teach you what you will no longer tolerate, and they prepare you to set clear, non-negotiable boundaries moving forward. Self-worth grows when you reflect honestly on your past, see your value, and decide to never accept anything below it again. When you understand your worth, you start to notice how people respond to you. You see who treats you with respect, who appreciates your time, and who values your energy. You stop making excuses for people who don't prioritize you or make you feel like an option. Instead of bending over backwards to fit into someone else's life, you demand alignment with your own standards and values. And when you do this, you naturally attract people who see your value, who elevate you rather than diminish you, and who enhance your life rather than drain it. Knowing your worth also transforms how you handle rejection or disappointment. When someone chooses to walk away or doesn't meet your expectations, it doesn't feel like a reflection of your inadequacy. Instead, you see it as a natural filter. People who are not aligned with your value will leave, and that's okay. This mindset takes the sting out of being overlooked or ignored. It replaces desperation with composure and sadness with clarity. You no longer chase approval because you already approve of yourself. Understanding your worth is also about self-investment. It's about spending your time, energy, and love on yourself first, whether that's pursuing your passions, building your career, strengthening your mind, or cultivating friendships that lift you. When you prioritize your own growth and happiness, you radiate confidence and contentment. This energy is magnetic. People notice when someone values themselves, and it naturally shifts the dynamic. Suddenly, you are no longer the one chasing, you are the one being pursued. Finally, embracing your worth means refusing to diminish yourself for the comfort of others. It's about rejecting the idea that your value depends on someone else's recognition or validation. You realize that standing firm in who you are, your standards, and your principles is far more powerful than bending to fit someone else's desires. It's this understanding of self-worth that lays the foundation for all the other steps in reclaiming your power, creating boundaries, and living a life where you are the priority, not the pursuit. One of the most powerful things you can do for yourself is to stop chasing someone who doesn't reciprocate your effort or energy. Chasing gives away your power. It signals that your happiness and validation depend on another person's choices rather than your own. When you constantly reach out, make yourself available, and bend over backward to get attention, you teach others that your presence is negotiable and that your boundaries are flexible. Stopping the chase is the first step toward reclaiming your self-respect and redirecting your energy where it truly matters. Stopping the chase also forces you to shift your perspective. Instead of obsessing over why someone hasn't called, texted, or prioritized you, you start to look inward. You begin to ask yourself, why am I seeking validation from someone who doesn't value me? This moment of reflection is transformative. It helps you recognize the difference between genuine connection and one-sided attachment, and it empowers you to make choices based on your worth rather than fear of loss or rejection. When you stop chasing, you create space in your life for clarity and freedom. Constantly pursuing someone can cloud your judgment. You may ignore red flags, excuse poor behavior, or sacrifice your own needs just to stay in their orbit. But when you step back, you can see the situation objectively. You notice the imbalance. You understand your feelings more clearly, and you gain insight into whether this person truly deserves your time and attention. Stepping away doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you start caring about yourself first. Stopping the chase also sends a powerful message without a single word. When someone realizes that your attention and presence are no longer automatic, they are forced to reflect on their own actions. Often, people don't understand the value of what they have until it's no longer available. By withdrawing, you shift the dynamic. You are no longer the pursuer, and the other person must now come to terms with the reality that your energy is precious and not freely given to anyone who doesn't respect it. Another benefit of stopping the chase is that it cultivates patience and self-control. It's easy to act impulsively, to text too often, or to show up whenever someone wants attention. But self-restraint demonstrates strength, maturity, and emotional intelligence. It shows that you are not dependent on someone else for your happiness, and that you are capable of setting boundaries that protect your emotional well-being. This restraint can make a person more attracted to your confidence, not less. Finally, stopping the chase allows you to focus on your life, your growth, and your happiness. When you are no longer pouring energy into someone who doesn't reciprocate, you have the freedom to invest in your passions, your friendships, your career, and your personal development. Your life becomes richer, fuller, and more aligned with your values. And in that space, you naturally become more magnetic, more attractive, and more in control of your own destiny. Because you are no longer defined by someone else's attention, but by your own choices and self-respect. Focusing on yourself is one of the most liberating and transformative steps you can take when you feel the urge to chase someone who doesn't value you. When you redirect your energy inward, you stop looking for fulfillment in someone else and start cultivating it from within. This is where true confidence is born, not from attention or approval, but from the recognition that you are whole, complete, and deserving of joy regardless of anyone else's actions. By prioritizing your own growth and happiness, you naturally create a magnetic energy that draws the right people toward you. Focusing on yourself means dedicating time to your passions and personal goals. Maybe there's a skill you've been wanting to master, a hobby you've neglected, or a dream you've postponed. Pouring your energy into these pursuits not only enriches your life, but also reminds you that your purpose and happiness are independent of anyone else. The more fulfilled you become in your own life, the less space there is for frustration or longing over someone who doesn't appreciate you. Your attention becomes a valuable resource, and you now spend it on things that truly matter to you. It also means nurturing your emotional and mental well-being. When you're constantly focused on another person, it's easy to lose sight of your own emotional needs. Focusing on yourself requires checking in with your feelings, understanding your boundaries, and honoring your emotional health. This could involve journaling, meditating, or simply giving yourself permission to say no. By prioritizing your inner world, you become more centered, more resilient, and less susceptible to the anxiety that comes from waiting for someone else's validation. Focusing on yourself isn't just about growth, it's about presence. When you immerse yourself in your life, your experiences, and the people who truly matter, you stop living in anticipation of someone else's actions. You start to notice the beauty in everyday moments, to enjoy friendships that uplift you, and to create memories that are meaningful to you. This presence shifts your energy from neediness to empowerment, and it signals to others that your happiness is not negotiable. It is already abundant within you. Another key element of focusing on yourself is strengthening your independence. Independence doesn't mean shutting people out. It means developing the confidence to thrive on your own. You no longer rely on external approval to feel complete. You make decisions based on your values, your goals, and your happiness. And when someone sees that you are self-sufficient and unafraid to walk away from what doesn't serve you, they are naturally drawn to your strength and authenticity. Finally, focusing on yourself cultivates a sense of gratitude and self-love. By investing time and energy in yourself, you begin to appreciate your accomplishments, your resilience, and your unique qualities. You learn to celebrate who you are, rather than measuring yourself against someone else's attention or affection. This shift in mindset transforms not just your relationships, but your entire life. You move from chasing validation to living from a place of confidence, self-respect, and fulfillment. Embracing mystery is one of the most underrated yet powerful ways to reclaim your influence in any relationship. When you stop being constantly available or overly predictable, you create an aura of intrigue. People are naturally drawn to what they cannot fully figure out or control. By allowing yourself to remain a little unpredictable, you shift the dynamic from one of chasing to one of curiosity. You become fascinating not because you're playing games, but because you've learned the value of maintaining your own life, priorities, and boundaries. Mystery begins with your presence, or absence, rather. When you aren't always accessible or immediately responsive, it sends a subtle message that your energy is precious. You're no longer a resource someone can rely on at all times. This doesn't mean playing manipulative games. It simply means valuing your time, your attention, and your emotional energy. When someone has to pause and reflect on your absence, they begin to notice your impact, your presence, and the qualities that make you special, often for the first time. Another aspect of mystery is depth. People are drawn to those who have a rich inner world, someone who has passions, thoughts, and experiences beyond the relationship. When you embrace your individuality and pursue your interests, you naturally create layers of personality that aren't immediately visible. This depth encourages curiosity, conversation, and genuine admiration. Mystery isn't about hiding who you are. It's about revealing yourself gradually while maintaining your own life, ambitions, and identity. Embracing mystery also encourages self-restraint. It requires patience and the ability to resist the urge to over-explain or overshare your emotions and intentions. When you share everything at once, you give away your power. But when you allow certain things to remain unseen or unspoken, you create space for reflection, anticipation, and emotional investment from the other person. Mystery fosters a sense of tension that is magnetic, drawing attention naturally instead of forcing it. Mystery also protects your emotional energy. When you aren't constantly chasing or seeking validation, you shield yourself from disappointment and emotional exhaustion. You control the pace of your engagement and decide when and how much to reveal of yourself. This conscious approach to connection allows you to maintain confidence and composure, even if the other person is inconsistent or inattentive. You no longer risk losing yourself in the process of being constantly available for someone else. Finally, embracing mystery transforms how people perceive you. When you live a full, independent life and engage on your own terms, you exude confidence, self-respect, and authenticity. This is far more magnetic than any desperate attempt to seek attention or affection. Mystery creates a natural pull because people sense that you are whole, content, and not dependent on them to define your happiness. They begin to see you not just as a person in their life, but as a prize they may have taken for granted. And that shift changes everything in the dynamic. Creating emotional independence is one of the most liberating steps you can take in any relationship. It's the realization that your happiness, self-worth, and sense of fulfillment are not dependent on someone else's attention, approval, or affection. Emotional independence means you are whole on your own. You do not need someone else to complete you or validate your existence. When you cultivate this mindset, you remove the pressure of needing someone to act a certain way or prove their love, which gives you freedom and power in the relationship dynamic. Emotional independence begins with self-awareness. You need to understand your emotions, identify your triggers, and recognize patterns that cause you to feel anxious, insecure, or desperate for validation. By understanding your emotional responses, you can respond to situations with calmness rather than reaction. This self-awareness allows you to separate your sense of self-worth from how someone else behaves or treats you. In other words, you no longer allow external circumstances to dictate your internal peace. Another critical element is self-soothing. Emotional independence requires that you become capable of comforting yourself in times of disappointment, rejection, or uncertainty. Instead of relying on someone else to make you feel secure or happy, you learn to manage your emotions through reflection, mindfulness, or healthy coping mechanisms. This ability not only strengthens your resilience, but also demonstrates that your emotional world is under your control, making you less susceptible to the ups and downs caused by another person's behavior. Creating emotional independence also shifts your perspective on relationships. Instead of seeking validation, approval, or constant attention, you engage with others from a place of abundance rather than need. You are no longer pursuing someone because you feel incomplete without them. You are interacting because you genuinely want to share your life and connect. This shift is incredibly attractive because it signals confidence, strength, and maturity. People naturally respect and value someone who can stand on their own 2 feet. Emotional independence allows you to set and maintain clear boundaries. When you are not dependent on someone else's validation, it becomes easier to say no, walk away from toxic behavior, or demand respect when it is lacking. Boundaries become a natural extension of your self-respect. You no longer compromise your needs or settle for less because you understand that your emotional well-being is your responsibility. This clarity strengthens your presence in any relationship and ensures that you are treated with the dignity you deserve. Finally, emotional independence creates a sense of freedom and inner peace. You are no longer caught in cycles of chasing, anxiety, or overthinking because your happiness is self-generated. This freedom allows you to engage in relationships from a place of choice rather than necessity. You attract people who value and respect you not because you need them, but because you are a complete, confident individual who radiates strength and self-assuredness. Emotional independence is not only empowering, it is transformative, reshaping the way you connect, relate, and love. Letting go of control is one of the most challenging yet freeing steps when navigating relationships. Often, we try to manipulate situations, plan outcomes, or control how someone feels about us because we fear uncertainty or rejection. But the truth is, you cannot control another person's thoughts, actions, or emotions. And attempting to do so only drains your energy and creates frustration. Letting go of control is about releasing the need to manage everything and trusting that things will unfold naturally, while you focus on what you can influence yourself. Letting go of control begins with acceptance. Accept that people will act according to their own choices and that you cannot force feelings or commitment from anyone. Acceptance does not mean passivity. It means understanding the reality of the situation and refusing to bend or compromise your peace in a futile attempt to change someone else. When you accept that you are not responsible for someone else's emotions or decisions, you free yourself from the burden of trying to orchestrate outcomes that are out of your hands. Another important aspect of letting go of control is releasing the need for constant validation. When you're constantly seeking reassurance, checking for signs, or trying to interpret every action, you give away your power. By stepping back and trusting your own instincts and self-worth, you remove the emotional dependency that fuels overthinking. This doesn't make you distant or uncaring. It makes you self-assured, confident, and centered, which naturally creates respect and attraction from others. Letting go of control also involves trusting the timing of life and relationships. Sometimes, the more you push, the less things work out the way you hope. By surrendering control, you allow events to unfold organically. You focus on growth, experiences, and your own path, knowing that the right people and opportunities will align naturally. This trust in timing replaces anxiety and impatience with calmness, clarity, and a sense of empowerment, because you understand that you are doing your part and cannot force the rest. Releasing control also strengthens your boundaries. When you let go of the need to micromanage someone's behavior or reactions, you become better at identifying what is acceptable and what isn't. You stand firm in your standards without needing to coerce compliance. This clarity reinforces self-respect and teaches others how to treat you. When someone sees that you are not desperate to control them, they recognize your strength and independence, which often shifts the dynamic in your favor. Finally, letting go of control fosters emotional freedom and resilience. You stop being trapped in cycles of worry, overthinking, and disappointment because you no longer try to dictate outcomes. Instead, you focus on your own growth, happiness, and well-being. You become a person who is present, empowered, and confident in their own life. By releasing the illusion of control, you invite authenticity, balance, and a natural flow of connection into your relationships, creating dynamics that are healthier, more fulfilling, and truly reciprocal. The power of silence is one of the most effective tools in reclaiming your energy and authority in any relationship. Silence is not emptiness. It is intention. It allows you to create space between your emotions and your reactions, giving you clarity and control. When you stop filling every moment with words, explanations, or attempts to get a response, you allow the other person to experience the impact of your absence. Silence communicates strength, self-respect, and confidence in ways that words often cannot. Silence also provides you with the opportunity to reflect and regain perspective. When you stop chasing, texting, or over-communicating, you give yourself the chance to assess your emotions, your needs, and your boundaries. It's in these quiet moments that you reconnect with yourself, understand your worth, and identify what you truly desire from relationships. This self-reflection strengthens your emotional resilience and prevents you from making impulsive decisions driven by insecurity or fear. Another benefit of silence is that it naturally shifts the dynamic in your relationships. When someone is used to constant access or attention from you, your absence immediately makes them notice your value. You no longer have to convince anyone of your worth. It becomes visible through your actions, or in this case, your deliberate inaction. Silence forces people to confront what they may have taken for granted, often creating a sense of curiosity, introspection, and even longing. Silence is also a form of boundary setting. By choosing when to engage and when to step back, you demonstrate that your time, energy, and attention are not unlimited. This is a powerful statement of self-respect. It teaches others that they cannot take you for granted and that your emotional presence is a privilege, not an obligation. This subtle assertion of boundaries often leads to healthier, more balanced interactions because it discourages dependency, manipulation, or disrespect. Moreover, silence allows you to maintain your dignity and composure in situations where emotions run high. In moments of disappointment, frustration, or conflict, refraining from reacting impulsively prevents you from saying things you might later regret. It gives you the power to respond thoughtfully rather than react out of hurt or desperation. This controlled approach not only preserves your integrity, but also enhances your credibility and influence in the eyes of others. Finally, the power of silence is deeply connected to self-confidence and authenticity. When you are comfortable with silence, it signals that your sense of self is not contingent on constant validation or engagement from anyone else. You are at peace with your presence and absence, and you operate from a place of choice rather than need. This quiet strength draws people naturally and powerfully toward you because it reflects someone who is whole, self-assured, and unafraid to prioritize their own peace over the chaos of chasing approval.